I feel for you Cowboys fans because I mean he's never gonna build you guys a winner. You're gonna have to just claw your way there, you know.
Well, I mean, the whole thing is like
how has that worked?
His whole ego was about like ever since he fired Jimmy, it's like I have to prove that I can win one by me doing it.
Yes,
and so that's why he's never gonna give that power up.
That being said, I love George Pickens on that team. I think that was like the greatest. Like that was so fun to watch. Like watching their offense this year. You may feel differently, but just as an objective NFL fan, it was electric to have those two guys on opposite sides of the field. And I mean, there was no way you were holding Dallas's offense down for 60 minutes because one of those guys, especially when they were both there, one of them's going to get behind your safeties and they're going to score. You know.
Yeah, I thought that it was a great addition to pair with CeeDee Lamb. He's going to command a lot of money. If I was the smart GM, I'm going to franchise tag him. Show me that you can do it one more year. They got him, and they weren't, in my opinion, they weren't even close to making the playoffs. Right? How much did the needle move if 14 teams make the playoffs and you weren't one of them?
Are you planning on franchise tagging him like just for 1 year to keep him? Or then then re-sign him next year?
No. You can't re-sign him next year because you can't pour over $60 million between two wide receivers.
Right.
Fundamentally, it just doesn't make sense.
So you're just going to go services for one more year and then let him go?
Yeah, because you have your number one wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb, and I think he proved that this year. You can draft another George Pickens. You have CeeDee Lamb and he's healthy. I don't think that you open your wallet and give him $32 million a year. I don't when you're that bad on defense, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And that's fundamentally the difference between the Cowboys and the Eagles, because Jerry Jones probably will sign and extend George Pickens because it sells jerseys and he's going to stay on TV.
I can't believe the Steelers let him go for a 6th still. That's crazy.
Yeah, and then they let him go for a third.
Receivers. Was it a third?
Yeah, it was a third.
Okay.
And then you settled for DK and you paid him.
Yep. And then did not have any wide receivers really all season. DK was awful. Had Adam Thielen and MBS, like we talked about. It's terrible. While you're talking about drafting teams and stuff, tell us about your you got some gripes with the Falcons and the way that they draft.
Yeah, if you look at the Falcons this year, they fired their head coach and their GM. When you're building a team, you're building a team for success. Building a team for success just means that coaching and talent are meeting each other, right? That is ultimately the difference between teams that make the playoffs, especially consistently, and teams that don't, right? If you look at prime example, you guys are well versed with the Detroit Lions. What happened there is that the talent's just not meeting the coaching. And we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
When you look at the Falcons, they have habitually got it wrong under the former GM's administration. Habitually. They get the 4th pick in the draft in 2021, and they are primed to get, in my opinion, Hall of Fame wide receiver Jahmyr Chase.
Yep.
They big brained it, and they wanted to go with a unicorn, and they draft Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts was graded to be the best tight end evaluated during the draft.
Yeah.
He's a bust. Let's just call it what it is.
I mean,
draft.
He had 2 good weeks this year.
He made an All-Pro this year.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, how did he make the second team All-Pro? But Loveland from Chicago, who has 6 touchdowns and who was practically unguardable under Ben Johnson as a rookie, how did he not make it?
Right. True. Yeah, it was slim pickings for tight ends this year, I think. But
yeah, did he have a great 4 weeks? Did he have a great 4 weeks? Yes, he did.
Mm-hmm.
But we drafted you 4th overall. You're supposed to change this franchise.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So then,
I got a question for you, but I want to wait for you to get your next point.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you draft Kyle Pitts, and then he gives you a very misleading rookie year. Very misleading because you're fooled by yards. It's a passing league. You're going to get yards. Who else are you going to throw the ball to? and then you settle the next year because you drafted 4th, and now you're bouncing back to 8th. So what does that tell me? We're a bad team without Kyle Pitts, and then we're still a bad team with him, right? Because we're still lottery picking, whatever we're doing here, we're lottery picking, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's fine. We're rebuilding. This happens. Now you need a wide receiver. Now you draft Drake London at 8, and is Drake London a bust? No, but wouldn't you want more from a wide receiver drafted 8th overall?
So that's where my question comes to you for both.
Is Drake
Kyle
London
Pitts.
a top 10? Is Drake London a top 10 wide receiver?
Well, I
No.
guess my question is the quarterback play. Does that not make a big difference for Kyle Pitts and for Drake London? Like, if you had a better quarterback over there, they might both be looking like pros. Like all pros.
Okay.
You've had Kirk Cousins, and then you've had Michael Penix Jr. in his rookie season.
London has with Cousins. London looked great with Cousins early on, especially.
If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks.
Exactly.
Right? And we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
Okay.
If quarterback's important. I will never say that it's not. It's not the most important thing in my opinion, but it is very important, and it is tied to the success of your skill players. Yes, but my whole thing is, were we impressed with how these guys looked under the Penix administration?
Well, I just wonder if it would be
Last
better
year,
if they had a
Penix was
better
not the best
quarterback.
quarterback on the roster. Last year, Penix was not the best quarterback on the roster. It was Cousins.
Right.
They got hot and got on a run under Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right. So hold on. So now let's continue. You drafted Drake London. Drake London is not a bum. He's not a bust. But you would, if I'm drafting a wide receiver at 8 overall, I would like to see him enter the top 10 wide receiver. But that hasn't happened yet.
So I mean, do you like if I was to compare 2 players, right? If you take like Drake London and Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. has had terrible quarterback play, but also from watching him play, I would say so. I mean, Kyler Murray and then Kyler.
What's wrong with Kyler?
And then,
what's wrong with Kyler?
I
Can't read a
defense.
defense.
I think you might be the only person that's not asking that question. He got benched the second half of the season.
Yep, and they went 1 in 11, 1 in 12.
I think most people expected him to be going to be gone either this season or next season. No,
that's fine. Is he the problem? Well, I'm not so sure that he is the problem.
Well, I was gonna say I feel like you've had subpar play for the Cardinals and then for the Falcons, but Marvin Harrison Jr. when you watch him play, he's had a lot of bad moments that aren't quarterback related. Whereas I feel like you said, why not? Like some of the drops and stuff.
I agree. Okay. He's not. Okay. He's not. And I think that
Drake London, do you not feel like he's being held back by the quarterback?
No, I don't think. When have you ever seen Drake London wide open?
Very
wide
rare.
open in the NFL is 1 yard.
Mm-hmm.
When you and I watch a lot of Falcons games, I have to because I talk about them.
Yeah.
How often is Drake London wide open? When you look at Drake London and you compare him to Puka, when you compare him to a Malik Neighbors who didn't have great QB play with Russell Wilson, and he's calling game on double coverage against the Dallas Cowboys with time expiring.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. He's got people on his head immediately after catching it a lot. That's very fair.
Nobody's questioning the ability of Malik Neighbors, and I wouldn't say that Neighbors had great QB play this year or last year.
That's true.
True.
But then would you use that same logic to say that Justin Jefferson has had a decline?
No, I think that Justin Jefferson played with a solid veteran quarterback in Darnold. They won 14 games, right? I don't think it's a decline. I think that this is the NFL. If you win 14 games 1 year, how likely is it that you come back and do it again? And you have to understand, he's Justin Jefferson. He's a household name. He's an all-pro. When we are preparing for Minnesota, we are preparing for Justin Jefferson.
But if Jamar Chase and Neighbors can get open with backup quarterbacks, why can't Justin Jefferson?
I don't think that Justin Jefferson is not getting open. I think Justin Jefferson is frustrated because I don't think he's just getting hit. I don't think his frustration is because of his ability. If you trade Justin Jefferson now, you're gonna give up 2 firsts.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Gladly.
Okay, you ain't getting that for London.
Yeah, and he'll change your culture immediately. If you Justin Jefferson this year had a down year. He still played like a top 3 wide receiver, in my opinion. and let's look, and
just
I
not
don't
get
even
thrown
know.
to. I'm with you.
Yeah, and let's just say, and let me just have a little bit of data to back me up. So Justin Jefferson finished this year with 2 touchdowns, and he had 1,000 yards, but he had 84 catches. I'm not really mad at that. It just he doesn't have the touchdowns that he had, but they were under 500.
2
I
touchdowns.
don't think. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy though. That's fucking crazy. 2 touchdowns is crazy.
That is insane.
But they had 3 quarterbacks play this year. And I know,
Yeah.
but you just said, hey, what about, quarterback doesn't matter. Does it or doesn't? It does, but there's a difference when you're playing with an actual rookie in JJ McCarthy, and then with Wentz, he's solid. He's been there. He's not the best, but he's been there. And then you had the other guy who finished off the
Max
season.
Brosmer.
Yeah, so it's like, come
Yeah.
on.
The third string to beat the Lions.
I didn't see any slippage. But to go back to my original point,
Yeah.
and then this is when it all started, right? They draft Drake London. It's like, okay, I get it. And then the Falcons are picking, right? It's they're 8th again. So they were 8th and 22, they're 8th and 13. I'm like, Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter is a Falcon. Keep his ass out of Philly. I'm like, he's gonna stay in Georgia. What do you know? The Falcons take Bijan Robinson. I'm like, you are picking 8th overall. And
Right.
the name of my channel is Get It Done with 4, because with the modern defense, consistently you can't blitz. You have to get pressure with 4 in order to sustain success. And if you're a Detroit Lions fan, you know that like that's been your Achilles. Like that's been your Achilles heel. Right?
You can't get
So
it done before.
Yeah, and so you see how important that is. That's why you're losing the third stringers, right?
Yep.
All these Falcons fans are hitting me up. You don't know what you're talking about, man. You don't pay attention to us, this and that. I'm like, you drafted a non-valuable position at 8th overall. When you're drafting in the top 10, top 12, you have to get difference makers. And what I mean by a difference maker is, I'm not saying that Bijan's not talented, but you can't tell me that Bijan has the same impact as a left guard, right tackle, defensive end, defensive tackle. Like, what are we doing here? And then you look at Bijan. Bijan's been in the league XYZ years. He's never had a season he's experienced over 500. How valuable and how much of a difference maker has he been? And that's why people look at Bijan Robinson and Gibbs and they compare the two. You shouldn't. You never should. Because Gibbs is not in the same stratosphere as Bijan. He's just not. But they compare the two based on the success that Gibbs has experienced.
Yeah. No, I mean, I might have to fight you on him being in the same stratosphere. I think they're similar backs. All right. Well, I disagree.
They're not similar at all. They're not similar at all. Gibbs is a tier 2 back. Bijan is tier 1. Bijan is an all-pro, like first team all-pro, and deserved it. He shouldn't have got it over CMC, but it is what it is.
So where would you, just out of curiosity real quick, if you were to take Bijan, Gibbs, CMC, Jonathan Taylor, and Saquon, how would you rank the 5 of them?
That's a very tough one, and I might get some enemies from this. So the best running back in the league this year was CMC.
Yes.
He willed his team to the divisional round by himself. CMC is the best wide receiver and running back on the 49ers, hands down. And I watched him beat the Eagles damn near by himself in that playoff game, right? So I'm going CMC 1. I'm going Bijan 2. This year, I have to do it. JT, he was on pace for 2,000. He's 3. I'm going to go Saquon 4th, then I'm going Gibbs. And that's no slight to Gibbs, because Gibbs is nice. You have to hold your breath when Gibbs gets the ball. In my opinion, I think part of the problem with Detroit is they give him the ball too much.
I agree with that. They need to go back to being a 2-headed monster, because that's where he did well with Montgomery hurt last year, but he's not a 25 carry, 25 touch a game back.
He's not. And that's okay.
And he can still get you 120 on 15, like in a lot of games.
He absolutely can. And my whole thing is, I think Detroit drafting him there was the best thing for them because they needed that. But my whole thing is, I don't want to see Gibbs getting 25 carries.
Yeah.
It's got it. First of all, when you're dealing with a two-headed monster and with the amount of talent that Detroit has on the outside and the backfield, David Montgomery needs about 11, 12 touches, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what you do with Gibbs is you're giving him 15, and then I'm telling the offensive coordinator he needs at least manufacture 5 catches.
Yeah.
That's our 20 right there. That's
Right.
our
Yeah.
20. He's
Yep.
getting 15 carries, and we're gonna manufacture 5 touches right
We're
through
gonna
the
give
air.
him 5
What does
hot
that mean?
routes. Yep.
We're gonna throw it to him 5 times. It's 5 plays designed for Gibbs to catch the ball. The other 15, obviously, he's gonna run it.
So is that why you would put him at 5? Is that you view the other 4 as bell cows and him as a
Absolutely. But Gibbs is not a bell cow. And if you try to do that, you're going to shorten his career. You're going to waste everybody's time.
okay? So then,
With
would
that-
you like to see then?
That's no shot to Gibbs because Gibbs is phenomenal. I love Gibbs.
Yeah,
He takes advantage every time he's got the ball. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, you gotta love it, and you gotta love it. The best thing for the Detroit Lions was them having 2 first-round draft picks because the fact that they had 2, they had 1. I don't know if they take Gibbs there.
Yeah.
So do you think then that as a for the Falcons, would you like to see? I know you said that he's probably gonna be gone. Would you like to see less like Algier or an Algier type running back and just full time Bijan, or would you still like to see the change of pace over there too?
If I'm the general manager, I'm in the meeting with the coaches. I'm saying, hey, this is our unicorn, and what I mean our unicorn, Bijan is our unicorn. I'm putting him on a pitch count, and unless it's a playoff game,
Mm.
and I'll be very frank with them because you have a new administration coming in. I'll be like, hey, y'all didn't waste 3 years of his career already. He's going to go on a pitch count unless it's a playoff game or unless it's a game that we're trying to get to the playoffs. Bijan, if the Falcons can keep Tyler, I think that'd be good, but they're not going to be able to afford him. He's going to make a lot of money this offseason, but he naturally he deserves it. But because he's going to walk, you got to draft another running back.
Okay. So then, yeah, talking a lot about Gibbs. What do you think about Lions? Basically, the season they just had, and then the future coming up for them.
Yeah, I think the Lions are I think the Lions look like a team that lost their defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator. And
Facts.
And I talked about this on Get It Done before. The flack that Kevin Patullo got this whole year, getting his house egged, we'll get to Philly, but that got so overblown that we ignored what was happening in Detroit.
Agreed.
What you saw when Detroit was you had an offensive play caller who was trying to fill in for Ben Johnson, and he probably is a savant with X's and O's. He understands it. But what you saw with Ben Johnson is play calling is an art, right? It's an art. It's not what you're calling, it's when you're calling it. And that's what you saw with Ben Johnson going to Detroit. Now, when I watch Detroit, I watch a little bit of Gibbs getting too many carries, which is a sign of a panicking play caller. You are panicking. And my whole thing is you had the head coach of the Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell, start taking over the play caller, and he showed you, oh shit, I ain't really good at this either. That is why other head coaches like Nick Sirianni won't call plays, because now it's holding a mirror up to you. And if I'm looking at Dan Campbell, you can't stop the bleeding because when we let you call the plays, we were still bleeding. And now it looks like you're putting a Band-Aid over a gun wound. What are we really doing?
I agree.
When I watch
real quick,
when I watch
agree with
Detroit.
You. Oh, go ahead.
Hold on. Yep. When I watch Detroit, it's like very like, especially the game versus Philly. It's like 1-2 punch here, Amon-Ra. We and then we have our play where we have Jameson Williams running over route. But it's like the thing that I hated about Detroit is like the only time Jameson Williams gets involved is when we are like the play is geared to him. Why? Like, and then your offensive line took a step back, and then you're paying Jared Goff, who only showed you this only works if everything's going right. How successful are we going to be in one of the toughest divisions in the league? Not in the NFC, but in the league. I got to play Ben Johnson twice. I got to play LaFleur twice. I got to play in Minnesota once. So it's like, and then, and again, what I said earlier, when Gibbs fumbled in Santa Clara, I said, there's your window. Because I don't know if you can sustain this success. And what do you know? Both of your coordinators leave. One of the things that you guys probably will remember this. I'm at Yard House with my wife, and you guys are playing the Washington Commanders in a playoff game.
Oh,
And I'm sitting there. I'm like, they run wide trips to the field, right? And I said, why does Detroit only have 2 defenders over there? What do they run? They run a screen to Terry McLaurin. It's 3-on-2. What does he do? He scores. And I'm like, what is going on here? And I feel like I love Gibbs, but him fumbling really changed the trajectory of like what could have been, because that team keeps Pat Mahomes off the field.
Mm-hmm.
That team keeps Pat Mahomes off the field. And that team would have done what Philly did to Pat last year.
I know.
And I just feel like the city needed that. Like I remember listening to I was listening to Julian Edelman's podcast, and they were like, Bill puts such an emphasis on the ball carriers, because when you're holding the ball as a runner, you are holding the entire city and the franchise on your back. So you can't put the ball on the ground. But, it is what it is.
The great irony of Ramondre Stevenson having so many fumbles in the last few years.
Yeah, exactly. So you know exactly what I'm talking about, because I know you saw